Congratulations.
No matter the subject, this young lady has been determined to be successful since entering high school. She is the valedictorian of her class, ranking first out of 180 students. She's a natural-born leader and has taken on numerous roles that have highlighted her abilities. While excelling academically, she has prioritized being well-rounded with her involvement in clubs, sports, and community service. Academically, Vicki has been the recipient of many school-based awards, most notably the Presidential Excellence Award for History in June of 2017 and in June of 2019, the Presidential Excellence Award for Math in June of 18 and June of 19, the Presidential Excellence Award for History in June of 19, and the Presidential Excellence Award for Science in 19, and Presidential Excellence Award for English in 2019. Vicki, can I just have one of those for me? And we just changed this. Can I get one of those? Vicki has been on the varsity girls tennis team for every year of high school and was selected to be the team's captain for the 2020 season. During her sophomore and junior year on the team, she was awarded MVP. And congratulations, because I know that the team also, for the first time, moved on to the tournament last year, if I remember correctly. Vicki is a member of the National Honor Society, as well as school-based honor societies such as Math, Science, English, and History. She holds the position of president of the Math Honor Society and is the vice president of the Science Honor Society. For the past 3 years, Vicki has also been the treasurer of her class council. Her involvement in many aspects of NHS will be missed upon her graduation. Vicki has been accepted to Tufts University, I believe that's where she's going, as an early decision candidate, and she will be pursuing a degree in mathematics. Congratulations to Vicki Tran, this year's class valedictorian. You can unmute if you like to unmute and say a few words, Vicki. I have the certificate. Hopefully you got yours as well.
Yeah, I did. Thank you for all your words, and we're all doing well.
Fantastic. Congratulations to your family. I see that they're on with you as well. And thank you for to both families. I just want to thank you both for really just through thick and thin, good days and bad days, taking a chance on Norton Public Schools and Norton High School. And we hope that what we've tried to do for you has helped to lay this path, all of your hard work, the support from the staff and the teachers that you've worked with. And I don't know if Mr. Searcy and Mr. Dolman, who are on the line today, if you guys have any comments that you want to make about these two wonderful young ladies. Mr. Searcy.
Sure. I've only been around for 4 years, although I knew a little bit about Bree from our sons being friends. So, but I've been so impressed by both of you young ladies. Just all your teachers speak so highly of you. Your advisors speak so highly of you. You will be definitely missed as leaders in that building. Obviously, your academic skills are outstanding, but it goes way beyond that in your personalities, your character, and your leadership. So you will be missed, but I'm sure you're going to go on and do great things. So congratulations to you and to your families.
Yeah, similarly, I just want to say congratulations. Obviously, this being my first year, we didn't know each other real well, but it was something that I've just been so impressed with how well-rounded both of you are. We've actually had more opportunities to connect via remote learning now to sort of talk about issues around the school, and I've just been so impressed with all of your perspective and just how well-rounded you are as students, not just really strong in academics, but leaders. And it was really a pleasure to get to know you this year, and congratulations. This is something you can always refer back to, that you were valedictorian and salutatorian in your high school class, and it'll come up a lot, I'm sure, from various people. So congratulations, and we look forward to, like I said, or like Dr. Baeta said, figuring out graduation and making sure you get further recognition that you deserve. So congratulations again to both of you.
Just leave you with this thought to the two of you. Since Bree, you've got a double major in bio and psych, if I remember from reading it, Vicki in math. We anticipate, because of everything that's going on in the world, a need for high qualified, highly engaged teachers. Remember that. So maybe, just maybe, there's an inkling some down the road where you say, I'd love to be a high school biology teacher. I love to be a high school mathematics teacher. It's a good career. It's a fulfilling career. You'll never be rich, but you'll always feel good. So think about that as you're looking at the majors that you're choosing, and you've chosen two fantastic universities, so colleges. So good luck to both of you.
I
I just want to say congratulations to you. You should be very proud about what you have done. You were born around 9/11, so you were already born under unforeseen circumstances, and now here you are graduating during a pandemic. So congratulations to both. As someone who graduated 7th in their class, I can't hold myself to the esteem that you two have done, but we're very proud of you, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Ms. Strand, was that 7 out of 7 or 7 out of like 170?
7 out of more than what you graduated with, trust me.
Small schoolhouse.
Congratulations to you both. If you wish to stay on for the rest of the meeting, feel free. If not, go celebrate and enjoy each other and be safe.
Congratulations.
Bye, thank you. Bye, thank you.
Congratulations. Moving on, I don't know if anybody happened to see the news right before we came on, but it was also mentioned about our student Chris Stanger. I believe I'm saying that right.
Trainer.
He just graduated Harvard along with being a junior at Norton High. So big shout out to him as well. Okay, so moving on, vote to approve minutes of the February 27th. Do we have to do them all separately?
You do.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, approve minutes of February 27th. We need a motion and a second.
Before you do that, sorry, I'm getting FaceTime closer. Before you do that, I want to make one small correction on here. On page 1, use of school educational facilities, the first paragraph, the third line, stated he was irritated at his integrity was being asked. I think that should be stated that he was irritated as his integrity was being questioned, not asked. If you see what I'm talking about.
Yep. Anybody else? Anything? Okay. So can we get a motion to approve the February 27th minutes and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Kathleen Stern. Carolyn Gallagher.
Hi, Carolyn Gallagher.
Sherry Cohen.
Sir.
Dinesh Vast.
Aye.
And Dan Sheedy.
Aye.
Then we need an approval of the March 22nd meetings.
Motion to
Minutes?
approve.
26th.
26th.
And I just have one question on this. The vote on hourly employee wages Carolyn was here for this meeting, but she's not represented in the vote. Did she not vote on that, or did we lose her momentarily?
I believe that was exactly. I believe that she ended up going out because she ended up having to come back in with a phone, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's when I lost my internet access, Dinesh.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have a approval of the 26 minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Kathleen Stern. Is Sherry not on the call?
No, Sherry is not here tonight.
All right, Carolyn,
Yes. Aye.
Dinesh,
Aye.
and Dan.
Aye.
Okay, and then we move on to April 2nd minutes. Motion and a second.
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
So aye, Kathleen Stern, Carolyn,
Aye.
Dinesh,
Aye.
Dan.
Aye.
Okay, and April 7th, motion and second.
Motion
Motion
to
to
approve.
approve.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Kathleen, aye. Carolyn,
Aye.
Dinesh,
Aye.
and Dan.
Aye.
So vote to appoint superintendent to board of directors for Reeds.
Yeah, so the way that works is, every year you folks have the opportunity to either name one of a school committee member or to appoint the superintendent. The language should be written into the minutes, and I can do that for you. The motion would be to, pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors at Reed's Collaborative to be appointed annually. Joseph Byett is appointed to serve as the Norton Public Schools representative on the Board of Directors at Reed's Collaborative in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 40E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2021 school year.
Any discussion? All those in, a motion? Do we have to motion?
Yes.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Joe, do
Yes.
we need to open for public comment on this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we can. I mean, in terms of any votes that you take and stuff, if there's anybody on, yes, but you're not required to.
Right, I thought we were required to at least announce for public comment because of the format now, no? Am I wrong?
Yeah, so every time there's a line item that you're voting on, or any line item that's on here, I don't know if there's anybody on publicly tonight. I don't think there is. There is.
Yeah, there is.
All right, so what we should do is at the end of a discussion on something and prior to a motion, Kathleen should just say, is there any public comment on this? Wait 2 seconds. If there is, great. If there isn't, and then accept the motion. Thank you, Vanessa, for that.
All right, so we start with a vote to appoint superintendent to board of directors. Is there any public comment? And we turn to you, Jen, for that?
I don't see any at this time.
So then we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, Kathleen Stern. Carolyn?
Aye.
Dinesh?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Vote to appoint superintendent to board of directors for the Bi-County VICO Collaborative.
And this is, as per the last one, this is required by statute, and I'll read it into the minutes. Pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 40E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors at Bi-County Collaborative to be appointed annually. Joseph Byett is appointed to serve as the Norton Public Schools representative on the Board of Directors of Bi-County Collaborative in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2021 school year.
Okay, so do we have any public comment? Any discussion? Do we have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Second.
All those in favor? Aye, Kathleen Stern. Carolyn?
Aye.
Dinesh?
Aye.
Aye as well.
Family just came home, so I'm going on the headphones now. All right, tech department update, Miss Winsper.
So I'm really thinking I didn't want to be in the spotlight for technology in this way. I always enjoy doing an update for you, but this is unimaginable. I guess I have to say thank you to the school committee and the town for allowing us to get one-to-one Chromebooks, because I truly cannot imagine the state we would be in if we did not have Chromebooks for our students in grades 3 to 12. With that said, I did provide quite a lengthy update, which I will not read, but I did want to just touch upon the 3 themes of the remote learning that the district has taken, of the equity, creativity, and mastery. When we talk about equity, those Chromebooks that we have truly have made a significant impact. Fortunately, we sent devices home with our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, which was, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm so glad I was thinking it. And we're very fortunate that we had so many students take them home that we really limited our need to do more of face-to-face collection in the following weeks after the 13th when we first shut down. Working with Jen O'Neill and the principals of the LG and the JCS, trying to reach out to families to be able to get iPads to our younger students now. Those things are really going to make a difference if we're moving long term into this potential for an extended remote learning experience. I do know that internet has been a little sketchy across town for some of our students. We've worked really hard trying to identify families, working through Joe's office. I know that we've had certain people reach out simply because they've lost their jobs, and we've tried to be able to provide them with Comcast Internet Essentials, trying to steer them in that direction, because we do have, and again, when we first went one-to-one, we were able to get hotspots, and only 10 in the district, but certainly those had always met our needs. I know Vinnie Sorcy and I have worked a little bit trying to get some devices into kids' hands at the high school. We've had some elementary families reach out looking for access, and we just don't have them. I think moving forward, depending upon where the economy goes, that could be a struggle for families. It's great to be one-to-one, but if there's no internet at home, there's limited, what you can do with a device. It becomes a paperweight, right? So, in terms of equity, those are the areas that we're focusing on, and I know the town, working with Dr. Bayetta, to really think about our youngest learners and be able to provide perhaps devices for our kindergarten, first and second graders moving forward, which we hope to be able to do. So then, we think about the theme of creativity, and certainly technology does provide a lot of opportunities. I think we forget, for a lot of people, this is stressful. So not only is sitting behind a screen stressful, and whether you're a veteran teacher or educator or not, a newbie, we weren't trained for this. Even me, I wasn't trained, even though I have my master's in instructional technology, to sit behind a screen all day, right? So trying to be creative can be a struggle for some who maybe haven't really embraced the technology or the areas in which you can be creative. I do know that we have some tremendous staff who have really gone above and beyond in providing different types of learning opportunities for our students. But certainly there's more work to be done, and I know it kind of ties in with the mastery theme, that we're always working towards greater proficiency, right? There's always more to learn, and I think we have people who in our staff, I truly believe that they have the desire to want to learn, to be better, and to do more with technology. We have some amazing what we call teacher technology liaisons, it's a stipend position, and they're classroom teachers or library media specialists in our buildings that are providing weekly support for our staff, scheduled sessions with different topics, as well as fielding emails, just like the department. My technicians who work with us, work with in my department, as myself. We're constantly trying to assist staff, and whether that is through coming up with an idea for something, or trying to help them to troubleshoot on their own. We're all trying to work towards a better understanding of what we need, how to make it through this successfully. I did throw in some data points just of interest on the document, and I'll just read a couple of those, which we thought was very interesting. We get emails, a tremendous amount of emails daily, but we moved from, on March 13th, getting 18,623 daily emails across the district to, on April 27th, 45,852 emails. And then prior to March 13th, there were 61 Google Meets that had taken place in the district and 0 Zoom calls. And this is from September until March 13th. As of March 13th, and this is, through April 27th, 29,185 Google Meets and 1,723 Zoom calls. It's quite a difference. I would also like to just do a shout out, thank you to some of our staff. My technology department, we're a small department. It's myself and Paul Driscoll is the network administrator, and then Nick Zielinski and John Farrier are our network technicians. They are rock stars. You don't really see them. I wish I could have brought them on tonight. Hopefully, Nick will watch me on television, on cable, but they have gone above and beyond. And when I say that, I mean 24/7. A text message, an email. We have parents who are emailing us about, swapping out Chromebooks because we have damaged devices. No matter what time of day, we're responding right back to them. We've set up a schedule and making appointments for families to come. And, Nick Zielinski lives right in town, and he is there, almost immediately. The elementary technology teachers, Susie Cashton and Lori Andrade, when we had made the decision to send the devices home with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, they were all on carts. So my team, as well as, Lori came in on Friday, which is a day that she doesn't work. She came in and she helped get usernames and passwords to send home with all of the students. It was a true team effort. Again, our building-based TTLs, Julianne DeWolf is at LGN, Colleen Phillips at JCS, Jen Carline at the Hay, Christina Shalingo at the middle school, and Jen Young at the high school. I could not do it without them. I have advocated for a digital learning specialist or a digital learning coach, several years now. I think we can see how important that role is, because these are teachers who are working full-time, trying to do their lessons and do their meets and hangouts and emailing kids and such, and then they're also supporting their colleagues. And I'm not sure if you know or have heard about the SHIELD team, which is a group of educators across the country who are working on creating 3D printed shields for frontline workers. And Margot Bridges, who is our STEM teacher at the middle school, she was able to go into school when allowed, and she got the 3D printers from the middle school STEM lab, and she has been printing shields. So I just wanted to give her a shout out as well. Pam Anderson, who is Jen O'Neill's administrative assistant, sometimes we call her an honorary tech department member, because she does a tremendous amount of work with us. And I know during all of this with the remote learning page, she has collected a lot of the learning menus. She puts them all in one place, and then I can go to that one place and then upload them to the website. So she's just phenomenal. And then of course, all of our staff, all of our students and families, because this is so different and so new. I don't care if you've had a Chromebook since we went one-to-one. The fact that you're now sitting in front of the screen all day, every day, it's a change. I did send out a survey to students, and I have about 100 students who have responded so far, just looking for their input, what's interesting or what's worked well, what hasn't. And I'll share that information with you at a later date. But some are struggling. Some are struggling with the technology, not because they don't know how to use it, but because it's all day. Right?
Karen, was that just to older students, or was that to all students?
All students with email, so grades 3 and up. So anyway, I just, I want to thank you all again for supporting technology. We have done a lot behind the scenes. But I think moving forward, there's always room for improvement, and depending upon what happens in the fall, obviously technology will play a role in some capacity. So we'll be looking to support our students and our staff and our families. Any questions?
I just want to say it's not just students who have had internet problems. I've been on many Zoom calls where I've either glitched out or whatever. So it's a problem in the town for sure. And as I've said before, I've been on many Massachusetts state calls with school committee members who they can't believe that we're one-to-one, and how lucky we are, and that we by being as forward-thinking as we were, how ahead of the game that we are because of what we've been able to do for our students. So that's a big shout out to you, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just had a couple things. I obviously want to also say thank you to Karen and her staff. They do a tremendous job, as we all know. I did have one question. Do we have to think of a plan? I know typically at the end of the year we return the Chromebooks for cleaning and maintenance and whatever. So I assume we're going to have to come up with some sort of plan for that as well.
So we're thinking about, every year since we've gone one-to-one, we've always collected Chromebooks. We're considering not collecting Chromebooks this year from students who are returning. Obviously, we would need to collect them from the seniors, and we're planning to do that with the senior materials collection and such. I believe it's next Friday, or it's next week anyway. We're looking at transitions, right? So we have our third graders who are moving up to fourth grade. So their devices actually belong to their schools. So is it beneficial for us to collect the third grade devices to be able to give them to the rising third graders? Or is it, should we look at a different manner in which we get devices kind of shifted around a little bit, right? We have our fifth graders who going to sixth grade, whether they have a device, they usually get a new device when they get to sixth grade, right? That's the first year that they get a device. So we're working through the logistics of that. And again, if we were to collect them, then we're talking about having to clean them, store them, certainly can make repairs. But I think right now, we're leaning towards, if we don't have to collect them, we're not going to collect them.
Now,
I think too, we could be looking at it in September, redistributing them all over again. So
right.
We're also looking at the idea of providing potentially students the ability to have options during the summertime that are, there isn't a teacher with them, but the opportunity of, quote, online learning. So I'm currently working with a vendor on potentially a kind of a learning loss, if you will, tag that students could so choose, kind of like a summer reading program type of thing, but more aligned specifically in a couple of areas in transition. I think many of you have heard me say this. National research in two areas. One is fifth grade to middle school, 5 to 6, and the other one is 8 to 9. That those are huge 2 gap years for students because of expectations and so on and so forth. But because of the C-19 situation, we could be looking at multiple options.
okay, any further discussion on this? I do wish I had paid a little bit more attention, but I do know on the Dr. Oz show yesterday, there was a whole thing about social emotional and what was going on. And there was a doctor on there who has an app that supposedly has helped a lot of people, and it's free right now. I wish I could remember the name of it, but if anybody needs that kind of help, I'm sure you can get it on demand from yesterday. It was just yesterday, so that's something else. And we didn't have them on the agenda, but I see Carolyn's on there. Do you have anything to add from the student representative aspect?
I totally agree. It's been a serious transition. It's harder to learn when your teacher isn't right there to ask questions to as soon as you come up with a problem. But it has been so great to have our own devices, and we appreciate all of the work that the tech department always does that to support us.
And maybe I can add, I think one of the things that's always, for me, really thinking about kind of social emotional learning and kind of just child development in general, putting children, especially our younger children, on devices is really concerning to me. And I have been in front of my computer all day today on with different meetings. I think as adults, we can sort of manage it, we can navigate it, but it isn't easy. And I think we just have to really be mindful. I think that's something that we've always thought about in Norton, is just really how we kind of interact with children, how our teachers engage children. And although technology was always part of our kind of, environment and sort of learning, it never was really the only way that we sort of offered educational opportunities for children. And I just want to sort of say that to families. I think we just have to be mindful that our younger children, our elementary school children, even a lot of our sort of, older children, being in front of a computer trying to learn isn't always the way that children learn. So, and I just also want to give a shout out to all of the teachers. I am sort of following on different social medias. I know there's been teachers who literally sit in a Google Hangout waiting for their students to come. And they are sitting there, waiting for somebody to just join in this sort of class session, and they're all by themselves. So that's not easy either. So thank you to the teachers who are trying to kind of navigate the technology. I think it's just not part of our kind of natural instinct to sort of learn this way. So there's a curve, there's a learning curve for all of it, but we just all have to be a little bit patient and recognize for some children, maybe a lot of children, it's just not easy to learn behind a computer screen. So Karen, I hope you understand, this has definitely been so challenging for so many. And you and I have had multiple conversations because you are sort of the technology wizard and I am not. But I do think it's interesting to kind of watch, and Dr. Bayetta had a parent forum last night. It was just interesting to see kind of the variety. Some parents who are really overwhelmed, or I should say their children are overwhelmed with the process. Other parents who are like, oh, my children are doing fine. So the sort of mix of the reaction from children is really something we should be absolutely considering as well.
Well, we should always consider that because each child deals with everything differently. It's not just this whole thing.
So, thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I just want to thank Karen for, I know that the tons of extra hours that she's putting in, especially in those first few weeks. She's still doing it every weekend, and every single time I tell her to put away her technology for the weekend, I get a frown. So we know that she's spending tons and tons of hours, so we thank her for all of her work. Couldn't be doing this without her.
Thank you, Karen. Pupil Personnel Services.
Thank you, everybody. So I also provided you a memo update of what's been happening in the PPS department since the closure started. It seems like it was forever ago that we started with this. I remember the first conference call I was on with some of you, and it just seems like forever ago. So the guidance that we as special ed people, administrators, were given from the state initially was start small, but keep implementing services and go do it. And so that's what we did. We started small with a lot of communication. I think, when I think about what I want to say, it's communicate, communicate, communicate. It can never be too much. And that's communication between teachers, general ed and special education, teachers and therapists, teachers and families, and with students. And really just trying to keep everybody on the same page, keep everybody calm, help everybody to access and learn the technology. I mean, when I met last week with all of my therapists, and some of my occupational therapists don't use technology in their sessions on a regular basis unless they're teaching typing. They're often doing things with Play-Doh or sand or scissors or things like that. And so trying to translate that to remote learning is a whole interesting thing, and has been kind of overwhelming for them. So that was, our initial stages was really just about communication and keeping everybody on the same page. And teachers were starting to reach out in the first few weeks, just checking in, how are kids doing, how are families doing, and trying to provide support wherever they could. And then we received additional guidance around the remote learning plans for everyone, but then for special education, we needed to provide individual remote learning plans. So we've been doing that on a bi-weekly basis. All of the individual remote learning plans are developed by the students' educational teams. And they, the work and the assignments that are in them are focused on the goals and the benchmarks that are in the students' IEPs. It's not direct service by any means, but it is, everything is focused around what's been developed by the team to address the students' needs. Teachers, specialized classroom teachers and inclusion teachers are running Google Meet sessions. They're meeting with their students. What we're hearing from that is, particularly with the specialized classrooms, that when they run a Google Meet session, they are often quickly overwhelmed by the paraprofessionals that want to join in, by the therapists that want to join in. So they really had to work hard to create schedules or create activities where they're doing things together in collaboration so that the students aren't overwhelmed. You know, you might have 8 to 12 students on the screen, but then 7 to 10 adults, which is kind of a lot for students, and it was a lot for our parents. So we really had to learn how to address that and how to cut back. Also, our students that are in specialized programs have assigned, particularly at the elementary level, have assigned general ed homerooms. So students were joining the homeroom sessions, then they were trying to join the sessions that were scheduled by their special ed teachers, and maybe have a one-to-one session with a therapist, which has also become a lot. So we're really learning how to streamline some things and work together to work smarter and to help things work better for families. The other thing that we heard from families was that they weren't sure what to do. There was so much coming home all at once. So we really worked with families around creating schedules and helping families understand what assignments need to be done. So, you're getting the learning menus from the grade level teachers, but you're also getting the special ed stuff every 2 weeks. And so trying to help students pick and choose what needs to be done and what can go to the side or could just be an extra something that was important. And also when we were first advised around the individual remote learning plans, we were emailing most of them, but we're mailing home about 25 learning plans along with the supplemental materials that need to be printed to go with them. And we're doing that also on a bi-weekly basis. The other thing was that trying to work through it and talk with individual people got very quickly overwhelming for me. So I reached out to my special ed people and asked if anyone would be willing to join a remote learning working committee. So we've been meeting bi-weekly, talking through the issues, touching base on what people are hearing, and trying to problem solve. Just yesterday, we were talking about ideas for extended school year if it were to be remote, how to address progress reports at the end of the school year, those kinds of things. So that's been really important, and I really appreciate the work that all of those, and the time that all of those people have given up. Going forward, or in addition to the remote learning plans, we've also had all of our paraprofessionals and several teachers accessing oh my goodness, various professional development things. There were a couple of conferences that people have done. The team chairs have accessed several things, including learning how to have IEPs signed virtually through DocuSign, through our IEP provider, social emotional learning, specialized learning techniques, learning to use new technologies, things like that. So that's been also wonderful. And our teachers and our therapists, as our general ed teachers, are also creating materials to go along with what they're teaching, because they can't just reach on the shelf behind them and grab what they had. They certainly have had access to their classrooms, but as they're trying to do new things using new technologies, they're spending a lot of time creating materials as well. And so we're going to continue doing all of that, continue trying to find areas where we can build and increase our access and our support of students at the same time as we're trying to streamline the process and make sure that we don't overwhelm families and try to create a balance, because that's super important. And then just some concerns that we have going forward. We're waiting for guidance hopefully tomorrow about what extended school year would look like or what it could look like. I've been working on trying to plan both scenarios, whether it's in person or remote, and definitely maintaining that communication with our families and our students. And then the other big piece that's out there for concern is the list of evaluations, students that needed to be evaluated that we haven't been able to do. We have several students who were referred for either reevaluations or initial meetings, assessments that we can't do it virtually. So we're addressing that with families as well. There haven't been extensions of the timelines by the federal government. So we're addressing that on a case-by-case basis with families as it comes up. We are holding virtual meetings for annual reviews and for the students that have reevaluations or evaluations that were in progress. We are holding the meetings as an annual review and having a conversation about that we would continue the testing once school reopens or once we're able to do something in person. So there's a lot in the works for that as well.
Have we had any feedback from parents that feel that they're not getting what they should be getting because of all of this? Like, is there any pushback from the fact that we can't do physical evaluation?
I've heard from one or two families who are concerned, and we're working with that the best that we can, trying to tighten up some of the communication between the special ed teachers and the therapists, and trying to create some check-ins. The concern that from my end is that, if you look at one of the speech pathologists, they have caseloads of 40 to 50 students, and to try to figure out how to group those students and how to do teletherapy, which they haven't necessarily been trained to do, is a whole nother scenario. And I think as we continue to build and move forward, we may need to move in that direction, but we haven't done that yet.
Just to also note, as everybody knows, I spent a half a day in our preschool program, and I always bring it back to that. The amount of physical work by our staff with those students in need of services cannot in any way, shape, or form be duplicated in remote learning. And so, yes, the fact of the matter, as I said last night, that, am I happy and pleased about where we are when it comes to that? I can't say that I am. I also know that we have limitation on what we can do. I think our next move is to try to take a look at teletherapy in some situations, even if we can, and then ESY, which is the extended school year, which is those students that come in the summertime. What does that look like if it's remote versus if they're actually in the building? We were talking earlier today at leadership and over the last few days about how if we're doing remote learning in the fall, or we're offering online, or we're offering all kinds of options, that there's the potential that if we can come back, that some of our specialized programs would be a priority because of it's so physical. And I say that in a positive way. These are students who are, our paraprofessionals, our teachers are working with them in order to support them. That may be an area that we'll prioritize as a consideration depending on what happens in September.
Well, I think sorry, Jean. I think we'll have to, because at first we thought this was going to be 2 weeks, and then we thought it was going to be 3 weeks, and then we thought it was going to be a month. So when you're thinking about those short amount of times, then yes, it's too hard to put together a program. But now we're looking at maybe even into September. I mean, I think that we're not giving our kids what they really need if we're not being forefront and trying to find a way that we can give them the services that they need.
Yeah, we agree.
One other thing, I completely agree with you, Kathleen, and I think some of the struggle does absolutely come around. You know, some of the students, particularly in our specialized programs and the Little Lancers program, are students that you need to be in close proximity with, that you need to sit next to or sit behind, or do hand-over-hand prompting with, and so we need to really give that some consideration and be thoughtful and mindful as we move forward, and how we can address that. And that also makes it tricky when you're talking about virtual sessions, because you can't necessarily be there to do that. So that's another piece of a learning curve that I think will need to happen as well. And then just one other thing that I wanted to mention is that we have been in touch with all of our out-of-district schools, and we do have remote learning plans from all of them, and our students that attend out-of-district schools are all being serviced in some capacity, and I've actually been very impressed by what I've seen from them. So we are continuing to pay tuitions as we've been advised to do, and students are receiving services.
Any further discussion?
No, I just want to thank Jean as well. I know that she is, if we have certain departments that have some concrete, like this is where we're going, her department it's like a ping pong ball. The state is like very disappointing. I know this is a recorded meeting, but my colleagues, superintendents know I've been very disappointed with the state's response to our most neediest population of students. And to be quite honest, some lack of leadership in my opinion. And so it's given back to local control and that's great. But the fact of the matter is that we need the resources. Every district is talking about this topic in order to do better. So thanks to Jean and her, I know many talk about the issue of equity, not only for the students, but the issue of equity when it comes to the special education department, whatever role they have. Their workload is significant right now in terms of trying to opt into classes and trying to support students, trying to SEL a major issue. And that doesn't mean they're better or worse than any other one that's working really hard for us. It's just an understanding that this is a specialized population that we're trying to service, and that there are many things that go into that on a daily basis when we're in school, never mind when you're trying to do it.
Okay, moving on. Vote on refunds for various fee line items.
Right, so there's 4 areas, and Matt's here, and Matt, feel free to pop in, but we have 3 recommendations or considerations, and then one that we're actually just putting off, the clubs and activities, because of Carolyn's comment the other day. I'm hearing some other rumblings about some other stuff, so before I ask you to vote on something, I'm trying to collect that data, and we just haven't had time to get real. But that was kind of like the last minute clubs that are kind of like time sensitive during a period of the year. So we'll come back to that one. But
so we're not voting on clubs and activities. It's
that's
the other
correct.
3.
I'm asking you to hold off on that until the next meeting. We'll have specifics so that we can try to resolve this in one. And again, I think the options here, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, is refunding, carryover potential. But right now, the opportunity for us to be able to communicate and say, do you want a refund, or do you want a gift, or do you want to carry it over to next year, is not going to work. So we're refunding, these funds. And so spring sports is pretty easy. I'm recommending that, because we had no spring sports, that 100% of those spring sports student athlete fees be refunded. I am at this time looking at the Little Lancers for the months of April, May, and June. I believe is the time frame. Matt, could you correct me on that?
Yeah, and there was 2 weeks in March, April, May, and then the 2 weeks in June. So a 3-month period.
This is it's wonderful to collect fees, but what's happening with remote learning with this population of students is not even close. And so we will continue to support those classrooms. But at this time, I'm recommending 100% refund for those weeks as noted. And then the third one is the transportation, which would be for the months of April, May, and June. When you combine the last 2 weeks of March with June, you get your 3 months. And that would be a recommendation to refund that for those 3 months at 100%. We'll just divide that by the 10 months of the fee. And then that gets you $100 and some that gets refunded back to families.
For Little Lancers, we charge the full amount for the month of June, correct?
Yeah, it's a monthly fee.
Yeah, it's a 10-month. So this makes it really reasonable to provide it. I mean, you got to remember that the students who have to have that resource are there, and they're there at the cost of the budget. These are peer model students who would be coming in and so on. And it's not a knock on what our teachers are doing. It's just to collect a fee from these folks for something that's not even close to half a day or a full day, whatever they're paying, I think is unreasonable.
And we're doing the 3 months, April.
Yeah, it's April, May, and June, and actually you're adding on the June month becomes half of June with the 2 weeks in March. It's 3 payments.
Okay, so we need a vote for that?
Yeah, you can take that as a recommendation for each of those lines as one vote if you'd like, as provided.
Okay, so do we have a vote for the refunds of athletics, Little Lancers, and transportation? We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
All those?
Before you vote, any public comment?
Okay, so I, Kathleen Stern, Carolyn, Inez, and Dan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, a vote on capital improvement plan changes.
Yeah, for my discussion last week, I reached out to Mike Units with the anticipation that we should take a serious look at the K-1-2 situation with technology, which really is an issue of equity. Carolyn, understanding exactly what you're saying about Chromebooks and iPads, but the fact is we have to, we're going to be either remote learning, with online learning, with staggered, we don't know what it's going to look like. And so this is a wonderful opportunity for us to move some things. I'm moving the painting and the gyms for 2 reasons. Whatever plan we put into place, I'm going to need manpower from Wade Lazard's office in order to potentially create other areas, potentially secondary rooms for things like the nurse's office, having another room where if in fact the student all of a sudden has a fever, and in fact if we're back in school, having logistically preparing potential areas for multiple distribution of food in terms of the students are back. We're not going to be putting at the JCS 200 kids or 175 kids at lunch. We're going to have to find other places for students to eat. And what's that mean? And our guys have been really, I should say our people, because we have female and male custodians, have been fantastic under Wade's leadership and support. And so our recommendation is we continue the second payment of the minibus. We continue a new payment of a new minibus because we really need it. And we've moved everything else off until the Springtown meeting of 2021, but we've replaced it with a 1-to-1 purchasing lease of iPads for grades 1 and 2 and Chromebooks for grade 2. Kindergarten and grade 1 iPads, grade 2 Chromebooks for a total of $67,000 per year for 3 years for approximately 500 students. And that includes licenses and any of those things that come as part of the typical package. So that's my recommendation, which also brings back the overall cost of the town capital line to $111,000 from a little over $200,000. So it actually saves money by doing it this way. And I do need a vote.
Okay, is there any public discussion? So we need a motion and a second.
So moved. Carolyn Gallagher.
Second, Dan Sheedy.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye, Kathleen Stern. Carolyn?
Aye.
Dinesh?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Okay, any other business?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Before we go into executive session, we will not have a meeting next week unless we really need to have one. We've been meeting practically every week, but right now there's a bunch of things up in the air. I've got to settle the director of PPS situation and some of those other things that we've talked about, so it gives me the week to do so. So that's one, again, unless we really need to, or if you really think that we need to. Second, we will have another virtual town hall this coming Wednesday with parents. That one will be about collecting information and their opinions and insight into some of the thinking about the fall. What are their biggest concerns? What are their biggest issues? What are they thinking about? And then...
how did this Wednesday go?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then we'll start to look at the schedule of the central office in our schools with staffing, specifically administrators here, after the governor's announcement on the 18th, to see what that's going to look like. Overall, I was really pleased with the town hall. I want to thank the parents. We had at one point 246, was it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, 246 people. So I learned two things. The first one is I should have been doing a lot more Zooming before this, because I would have been able to, like I'm thinking like the budget in the future, I could do that, and maybe, people from the comfort of their home instead of having to go out to the high school in the middle of the cold, because usually a lot of these things happen. So that was a great learning experience about how to utilize technology in a way to support. Parents are frustrated, there's no doubt. As I said last night, I have a third of people who think that, we're doing wonderful things no matter what we do. We have a third of people who want to see us do better. And then we have a third of people that whatever we do, it's probably not going to be good enough. And I use the concept that I'm happy to note that the superintendency in Massachusetts isn't something that's an elected position, because with this situation, I'm not sure any of us would win re-election. It's just a really frustrating situation. It's frustrating for our students, for our families. We can do better. We want to do better, but we're also proud of what we've done with limited resources. As Karen said earlier, if we didn't have that school choice program, we wouldn't have our 1-to-1 and 3-to-12. There's no doubt about that, because even capital throughout the years wouldn't have been able to fulfill that line item and the recurring cost that goes with it. So we got some ideas and some thoughts. We're going to be sharing those tomorrow with our labor management group. And then from there, continue to try to find ways to improve. And I used my own personal story that I think there's great things about what my own kid has been asked to do, and some things that I wish were better. And I think any of us as parents, and I know members of the school committee, I have kids in the system, we kind of carrying two hats, right? Superintendent and dad, school committee member and mom. So, we're just taking it for what it is. I keep telling people all the time, A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3 are absolutely important. But if we think sticking a kid behind a computer for 4 to 6 hours a day is what we should be doing, I just can't tell you that that's in the best interest of a child long term. And I'm hearing from my colleagues that are doing some of that it's not in the best interest of kids, and kids are shutting down quicker. So through the work of everyone involved, I think the meeting went well. I was really pleased. There was a lot of positive commentary. I know some of you were on it. I think people were fair. I didn't know no one threw a comment that I thought was absurd or unprofessional. And I did ask everybody to, if you have an individual issue, please reach out to me, reach out to the building principal, reach out to me. And so I've turned one question over to a principal that I received today. And I'm really worried about the issue of equity. That it continues to be my number one issue. I'm really worried about the 500 students that we have or so with the learning challenges who need to be supported in a better way. And I'm worried about our students that do well, in school, and our leaders. I'm looking at Caroline, and this is completely taking us for a curveball. We need to do good things to support each other and to stay positive, and to find ways to celebrate our rituals and traditions They may be different, but the fact of the matter is that we need to make sure that kids understand that during a difficult time, the adults have to stand up and do better for kids. And I think we're doing that, and I think we can continue to do better. And I'm really happy that I work in Norton. I mean, it's been tough, but I have a great team. Your support has been great. And I also believe that waffles are overrated. Thank you.
I disagree with that fully.
He's not cooking them right.
Hey, I'll just really quickly kind of piggyback on what Joe said here. So, here's the thing. March, whatever it was, 19th, whatever, everything changed.
13.
Nobody had a plan for this, right? So, the reality is this was never going to be a home run. We weren't going to come up and knock the cover off the ball. And people who say, town so-and-so is doing, they're doing it right, they're doing a great job. Listen, they're lying. I mean, everybody struggled to get through this. There wasn't a plan in place. Nobody had a plan in place for if all the kids had to stay home for the next 4 months. So, at this point, I think you want to be careful how you're grading yourself. You want to be careful what metric you hold up to yourself. It can't be normalcy. So the metric can't be, well, a normal school day when kids go to school or in the same class, etc. This is how we measure it. And we're going to continue to measure that way. It's just not realistic. I get it. I'm a parent. We're all parents, teachers, whatever. But and I say that not just for the public, but I say that for the staff as well. Don't hold yourself to some unattainable measurement because it's not realistic. It's going to get frustrating for you. It's frustrating for everybody involved. So you do your best. You kind of drink it from a fire hose here, and we'll get through it. And it won't be perfect, but we'll do it. So.
And again, and it's not just that. Like I said to Karen, when we started this, it was a 2-week thing. I mean, no one expected on March 13th that we would not be going back to school the rest of the school year.
Right.
I mean, this was something that was thrown onto. I know a neighbor of mine works in Brockton, and she was given a half hour in the middle of April to go into her classroom and grab whatever she could to finish the school year. I mean, nobody was prepared for this. So I think whatever we've done and whatever we've come up with is the best we can do with the situation we've been thrown.
Joel, remember, I actually, when this was coming down, I thought 2 weeks was a mistake. I thought 1 week what I called. I said 1 week, it'll be fine, it'll be over. I'm just getting wrong, obviously. So.
Well, waffles are overrated.
Indeed.
I do need a motion to go into executive session, which will require that we have to wait for all the everyone to leave, for the purposes of contract negotiations with union and non-union personnel, and that will require a roll call. We will not be coming back to the open session.
Okay, so we need a motion to adjourn to executive session for union, non-union negotiations. I need a motion and a second, and we will not re-adjourn.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
That's
okay, we need a roll.
Dan Sheedy with a motion, Dinesh Savaz with a second, and we now need a roll call. I'll just call it quickly. Kathleen Stern?
Yes.
Dan Sheedy?
Yes.
Pancakes there, Dinesh?
Yes.
Who am I missing? Carolyn?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. 4-0 vote.
Right. Everybody have a great night.